Welcome to the ScrollFire podcast. My name is Eliazar, and I'd like to welcome you to this new space. Um, what I want to do today is just generally talk to you about what ScrollFire is and how and what ScrollFire will be to you. Uh, so this is the podcast. It's a space for those, created for those who knew deep down that there's more to your existence than what you've seen so far. Well, I'm going to say it in religious terms, there's more to your calling to what you experience. It's more to you than what you've experienced in spiritualist circle. So I'm going to talk about why I started ScrollFire. I started ScrollFire because I needed a place where the truth of who I really was could be remembered. Not the version people applauded, not even the version that people knew, but the version that heaven wrote. Did you know that heaven wrote a version of you before you entered your mother's womb? And that's the person that we're going to remember and rediscover. The thing about it, I knew I wasn't the only one. There were people across the entirety of the world, prophets, dreamers, intercessors, witnesses, and spiritualists who've carried fire but had no name for it. They had no terminology. They had no reference code. So even in the circles that they were in, they didn't even have the terminology to express the experiences that people were having. And they moved in oil, they moved in power, they moved in strength, they moved in knowledge, they moved in understanding, but they always felt misaligned. A lot of times they gave themselves over to the workings of whatever they were part of. But even in doing all of that, you still felt like you came up empty. So ScrollFire for you is born for you. And I want to say this, ScrollFire is not a ministry. It's not a performance. It's not a trend. It's not a cultural adaptation of practices or religious practices. It's a place of remembrance. It's a place of alignment. And it's a place of governance. I want you to remember that word governance. That's going to be key in your functionality going forward. We talk about things like, what's your scroll? What is your seat? What is your name? What is the name that God gave you before the beginning or before the foundation of the world? What is that name that he gave you in creation? And what is your assignment? You had a pre-existence before you came into this particular uh, realm, before you came into this age, before you came into this particular dimension. And you came into this dimension to do particular assignments, not to adhere to religious cultural norms. So we're going to help people remember who they were before religion named them, before your mother named you, before all these other things name you. In this particular dimension, we name people by their functionality. But there is a part of you that's a name that supersedes all those names. And that's the name that you were given before the foundation of the world. It's the name that you had before trauma hit you. The name before this world and its antics bent you. It's before culture trained you to perform. So, ScrollFire, we're going to write books, release teachings, and speak truth, all from a place of stillness and seated authority. You're going to find that the place that you're in, your pre-incarnate self, is governed by stillness and authority. I'm not here to build a platform. I'm not here to build a ministry. I'm not here to build and have conferences. I'm not here to build any of those constructs that we're used to operating in. I'm here to build the awareness or turn you to the awareness of who you are originally. What was your name originally? What was your function originally? And you're going to find that it's a very holy thing of who you are before you came into this existence. We're here to release verdicts. You're going to find out what verdicts are. You're going to eventually find out that you're the verdict. You're going to help build up people, build up seated ones. You're going to help others to become seated. You're going to help them occupy and define their original function and to be able to walk it out with authority and power in silence and stillness. And you're going to help them walk in who they've always been, not who they were crafted into being after they came into this particular humanistic existence. So the final word tonight, because this is our uh, pre-broadcast, is this is something that you've always known. You've always felt different. You've always been set apart or felt set apart. And you know that this is your space. You aren't crazy. You aren't behind. You know you've always been seated. So let's walk this out together. I don't claim to know all the answers. I'm not trying to be an authority on anything. The Spirit of Yah is the authority on all things. And the things concerning your pre-incarnate existence are going to be revealed by His Spirit. So let's get together. Let's walk this out. This is going to be, I don't want to call it a journey. It's really an existence. You're not trying, in eternity, there's no A to B. It's just eternity. And we're going to learn how to walk in eternity together before you die.